Good day, everybody. My name is Piet Jacobus, and I'm an editor with Healthcare Innovation. We're at HIMSS today, and it's my pleasure to be speaking with Dr. Rob Dwyer, Executive Vice President and Chief Data Scientist at Certilytics. It's great to see you, Rob.
You too, thanks for having me.
So to get us started, could you give us a brief overview of the company, your role, and the big news that you're sharing with the HIMSS community this week?
Sure, Certilytics is an answers company. We're debuting at HIMSS now an Agentic AI intelligence layer that users can now get answers to their questions about their own data using a chat interface to make everything very easy. We think of it in the long term as expanding subject matter expertise, scaling subject matter expertise. My role at Certilytics is Chief Data Scientist. My team builds all the machine learning and AI products that underpin our tools.
Very nice. So what is Agentic AI healthcare intelligence, and how does it differ from the standard data and analytics tools, teams, and workflows that health systems use today?
I think of current workflows as human-driven. Humans are orchestrating workflows, they're selecting tools, they're making small decisions in the moment to put together to get to a solution or get to an answer. And what I think Gen AI allows you to do is to offload a lot of that small decision making to an autonomous agent. Think of it as a junior employee, and the user can then sit at a higher level, exercising judgment over the totality of the workflow rather than having to be involved in the minutia.
Oh, wonderful. So how does CertHLM alleviate dashboard fatigue and accelerate the time to answer for C-suite leaders and their analytics teams?
We built a lot of dashboards, we still build dashboards. Dashboards have their place, but I think we're at the point where we feel like there's almost enough data in healthcare. Most decision makers are kind of drowning in data, drowning in dashboards. And so the ability to just ask a question and have an agent go off and find an answer shortens that time to answer. And that's one of the biggest issues that we see when we work with teams, is that time to answer. Analytics teams are swamped with work, but by the time they get to that answer, their stakeholders may have already moved on. It may no longer be relevant to the business. So being able to shorten that time frame, we think is really key to getting past dashboard fatigue. Use all that information, but get answers instead of having to comb through dashboards.
Oh, wonderful. So we know that sifting through siloed data to measure vendor performance is a challenge. So can you walk us through the specific workflow of CertHLM and how it integrates with fragmented data to allow a user to ask direct questions about member engagement, and how it ultimately simplifies those notoriously hard to track metrics?
Yeah, absolutely. So a typical large employer might have 20 or 30 vendors of point solutions, so everything from sleep apnea to wearables, all things to try to improve their population health. So you can imagine that's 30 different value propositions, 30 different ROI estimates, data feeds. In the best case scenario, you've built 30 different dashboards that do a great job of quantifying how each of those programs is doing, but that's still a lot to go through. And if you want to answer a question quickly, you need that AI layer to be able to go search those dashboards. CertHLM today searches thousands of dashboard tiles and generating its answers, synthesizing answers. So that lets you synthesize all that information and answer questions essentially in real time. And then you can imagine over time pushing that AI intelligence layer down further in the ecosystem. So maybe you don't have to build 30 dashboards anymore. You can allow the AI to just query the underlying data. Maybe at some point you don't even have to map the data. You can just go off the raw data and let the agentic framework answer and build out those analytics for you.
Oh, very good. So how did your team build CertHLMs so that insights are fast yet governed by strict guardrails and full transparency for high-stakes clinical or organizational decisions?
It's a great question. One of the first questions we get asked, right? Everyone's familiar with hallucinations and the fact that agents can be unreliable at times. I think the most important thing and the biggest mistake people are prone to making is to just take a large language model and put it on top of their data warehouse. And that's going to cause a lot of issues when you get into a field like healthcare where you need that subject matter expertise. So our focus with our AI framework is a lot less about just pairing language model and data. It's a lot more about building out that intermediate layer, that subject matter expertise layer, so that the AI has all the tools and knowledge it needs to make the right decision. So I think that's number one. Of course, we have all the security, the guardrails in place that one would expect for a tool like this. And then giving the tool the ability to learn over time, so learn from your subject matter experts how to do better next time with the next questions it's asked, and tighten that crank with every question.
So as a chief data scientist, how do you see the role of human data analysts evolving as autonomous AI agents begin supporting their workflows? And where will the human in the loop be with regards to data analytics in healthcare?
Yeah, I think there will always be a human in the loop. I think the loops will change, they'll get bigger and more complex. Again, I think a good analogy is to a junior data scientist or a junior analyst. Maybe you give them small questions at first until you trust what they bring back and they understand the data in the system, and then you can let them handle more complex workflows. So I think that will be the progression, the evolution of these tools in healthcare. I always think there'll be an analyst, and I think you'll see that instead of trying to do the same amount of analytics with a smaller workforce, you'll see an expansion in the analytics that we can imagine doing. I think every analyst team probably has 2 years worth of questions on their backlog today as it is, and this will just help us accelerate that timeline.
Oh, that's really good to hear, actually.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thanks
Appreciate
for the opportunity.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in.